Alrighty, hey everyone, welcome back. Happy, what's today? Tuesday. Oh my gosh. So tomorrow, Fed's going to be lowering interest rates by another 25 basis points. That's great news. Miners, for the most part, had a good day today. Also, Bitcoin was up. It was up nicely today. Came back down a little bit towards the end of the day, but it was still up nicely today, which is a good sign. But we do seem to have like maybe a resistance at like 94,000 right now in change. We'll take a look at what's going on there. We have a bunch of good news stories as well. We'll talk about also the miners. We're 9 days in. We've only had a couple that have reported so far their production updates for this November. Sorry, not December, November. Will the others report? We'll talk about it. I'll give you guys my thoughts on it, see what's going to happen there. But that's obviously going to mean some changes here for the channel as well as how we report things. And if we don't have data, well, we can't report on certain things. So that'll have some impact there. We'll talk about that. We have a bunch of good news stories on Bitcoin, on AI data centers as well, on power generation, on SpaceX as well, IREN also. So we'll get into all that after we get through the stocks, how they did today, and Bitcoin and everything else. All right, so as always, you guys know the drill. Not financial advice, for everyone only. Do your own research, as always, and then full disclosure below that. And if you would be so kind, hit the like button, subscribe. Helps me out tremendously here. So let's take a look at what happened today with Bitcoin here. Bitcoin had a really good day overall today. I mean, we got up to a high today of 94,640. We closed at 92,690. Right, so we were up at one point, like over 4% on Bitcoin here. That was a great day. Miners also did pretty good today. Markets were kind of mixed though. Dow Jones was down, Nasdaq was up, S&P was down just a little bit, and the Russell was actually up a little bit as well, 0.21% there. But Bitcoin finished out the day being up 2.25%, which was great there. Ethereum also did pretty good today also. Actually did better than Bitcoin there. It was up 6.2%. Got above the, what is this, the 50 SMA on it. And crashed back down below. Right now it's kind of battling with that right now. On that one. Miners-wise, Bitfarms did really good. 3.44% up after being, I mean, it's been trending downwards here since the last week of November, it looks like. So it's been just constant down pressure on that one, but it's starting to get a little bounce here. So that'd be nice to see. BitDeer was up 1.83%. Kango was flat on the day. Cypher was up just a little bit, 0.41% there. Cleanspark had a really good day, up 6.91%. At one point is up over 10%. So that's kind of nice there, but it's still trading kind of sideways here. I mean, we're still, I don't know whether we're battling with some kind of resistance here around $15 or something. It seems like we've tried that once, twice, maybe 3 times here, 4 times. This is the 5th time that we've tried to break above 15 here. And we're definitely seeing some resistance there on that one. CORZ was down actually today 1.13% after having a nice day yesterday. Hive was up 3.55%. Hut 8 was up 4.61%. IREN was up 1.08%. Mara was up 1.66%. Riot was up 3.68%. Wolf was up 4.21%. Bitcoin treasury companies here had a overall good day for the most part. MicroStrategy was up 2.89% there after being up almost 5%, almost 6% at one point, I think. Galaxy was up nicely, 12.7% there. So that one's at $40.74. Block was up just a little bit, 0.87. Coin was up 1.15. Meta Planet was up 7.86%. Exodus was up 2.96%. Nexon was actually down 0.08. Semler was up 3.03. Phoenix was flat, and GameStop, was down 1.03%. Small miners, see how they did here. Most of them did pretty good here. Annie was down up just a little bit, 1.11%. Argo was up 13.87%. This thing has been just falling here for a while, ever since, when was this? This was back in October 6th, it looks like Monday. It's been just continuously like a falling knife here on that one. And this has been this low since, geez, we're going way back here to May of 2025, it looks like. All right, I talked about it at that point, possibly some manipulation happening here. And that's kind of what it looks like it's playing out. Right now, we'll see. Well, right now we're getting a little bit of a pump here, at least a little bit. But it's 18 cents, so it is very volatile. DigiPower here was up 2.83%. DMG was up 3.16%. Mawson was up 6.98%. This one's kind of also flatlined here a little bit recently. We'll see how that one does. Canon was up 2.74%. Bitcoin miner ETFs did pretty good here. BitQ was up 2.17%. BKCH was up 3.74%. DAP was up 3.34%. WGMI was up 2.15%. Ethereum holding companies as well did pretty good today. BMNR was up 9.4%. Starting to finally kind of catch maybe a little bit of bid here going up since it bottomed out in the 21st of November. It's been kind of going back up here. So that's at least a good sign for those that are holding BMNR. Digital was up 7.73% today. This one was also kind of trading in a little bit of a channel here. I bet you that channel I think will break out and we will go up as things go up on it. BTCS was down just a little bit, 1.18%. Game was up 8.02%. SBET was up 4.88%. Other companies that we track here, American Bitcoin was up just a little bit, 1.49%. Wi-Fi was up 3.69%. Open was up 5.11%. Oracle was up a little bit, 0.45%. Nibius was down today, 3.91%. Soluna was up 16.25%. This thing is just kind of bouncing between this, I would say, what is that? Like $1.89 and $1.52. It's kind of like been bouncing between that range here for quite a while. Let's see if we can break above that. Backed was up 2.43%. Fermi was up 3.06%. Meta was down 1.48% there. Google was actually up 1.05%. Amazon was up a little bit, 0.45%. Microsoft was up 0.2%. And NVIDIA was down 0.31% right now as it is. So overall, not too bad in the markets here. Miners in the after hours right now, see how they're doing. Saw a little bit more red here as I was checking this stuff here, but BitDeer's down 0.98% in pre-hours. Bitfarms is down 0.33%. Kango is actually up 1.68%. Cypher is, let's see if it's still up. It's still up 0.1% there. Cleanspark was down, and it is still down 0.94% on the pre-hours. CORZ Scientific is up just a little bit, 0.06%. Hive is now down 0.31%, was flat. Hut 8 is down 0.58%. IREN is down 0.4%. Let's see. Where does it end up at? It's trying to catch up here. It's down 0.562%. Mara on that one is down 0.49%. Riot is down 0.84%. And TeraWolf is down, no, it was, okay, it's down still 0.26%. So all of these guys are down pre-hours as it is right now. All right, some things we're going to take a look at here. Bitcoin for December right now is still up 2.28%. Kind of lackluster here overall. We'll be happy if we get a green month out of December nonetheless, because historically December has not been a great month for us, so we'll see how we end up at later on. Bitcoin ETF inflows here, we saw positive inflows of 287 million without IBIT reporting yet. The FedWatch tool is still showing 87.6% probability that we are going to get a rate cut tomorrow, 25 basis points. So that's going to be happening. That's good news there. And some of the good news stories that we have here is Kathy Wood says the 4-year cycle is dead and Bitcoin will rally higher from here. Send it. Okay, well, geez, I've been talking about that probably for the past, year or so. That the cycle is completely different and we're probably going into an extended cycle. That is yet to be proven if that is correct, but it does look like it's still right now. If we're listening to this really quick, this is on Fox Business News there.
Bitcoin is behaving more like a risk-on asset. It has played the risk-off role at different times during the European sovereign debt crisis, during our regional bank crisis. But right now, it's risk-on. It is climbing another wall of worry, and that is the 4-year cycle. We think the 4-year cycle is going to be disrupted, and what I mean by that is Bitcoin regularly dropped 75 to 90% in its early days. The volatility is going down. It's down about 30 some odd percent, and I think there's a fear of the 4-year cycle. We think that the move by institutions into this new asset class is going to prevent much more of a decline. We may have seen the low a couple of weeks ago.
And that's exactly what I've been saying here for about the last year, I guess, right? Maybe a little bit longer than that, but right around a year, I would say, is when I really started thinking that this cycle is going to be different. And we're not only hearing this from Kathy Wood, we're hearing it from others as well that believe that the Bitcoin cycle of 4 years is potentially going to be dead here this time around with all the adoption institutions, the government actions as far as clarity and all the other stuff that's happening here. It's just going to prolong this cycle, which, like I keep saying, it's going to be an extended cycle potentially, right? Time will tell. But right now, I still believe that's going to be the case here. Next here we have the 6th largest bank in the U.S., PNC, just announced they launched Bitcoin buying and selling. Every major bank is coming here. So they did this with Coinbase there. So adoption, right? Love seeing this, like I'm sure you guys do as well. But this is going to be great for Bitcoin, especially the ones, well, for you guys that are holding Bitcoin. But not only that, but it will also help some of the miners that are still mining, obviously, Bitcoin here in the interim. I think quite a few of the miners will continue to mine Bitcoin for a long time, along with their AI aspirations and businesses coming on, and contracts that they have. That's going to be a good way to offload electricity if they need to. So I think it does still play a purpose there in that. And plus, if they're still profitable in it, why not do it? Okay, and Bitcoin continues to go up here. It's going to be better for them long term, I think, as well. Next year, I love seeing this. So this is on IREN here. They provided this little video here for us. Horizon is a new class of infrastructure purpose-built for high performance and AI workloads. We're integrating 750 miles of high bandwidth fiber to create two 100 megawatt GPU superclusters, as well as flexible rack densities, so we can deploy not just today's chips technologies, but the next generation. IREN CEO David Shaw shares the latest progress on the leading edge AI cloud development for Microsoft. And let's take a listen and look at this.
Welcome to Childress, Texas. We're here at Horizon, IREN's direct-to-chip, liquid-cooled AI cloud deployment for Microsoft. What you see here is not your typical data center. Horizon is a new class of infrastructure, purpose-built for high-performance AI workloads. We're integrating 750 miles of high-bandwidth fiber to create two 100 megawatt GPU superclusters across Horizon 1 and 2 and Horizon 3 and 4.
Okay, I gotta say, that site looks very, very impressive, the build out and everything else. You could say I'm a happy shareholder there right now.
We're also future-proofing these data centers with flexible rack densities, so we can deploy not just today's chip technologies, but also the next generation. As an experienced developer, builder, and operator of data centers, we don't shy away.
Okay, so all of these are for Bitcoin mining here, right? They built that out tremendously quick, and it was just basically rinse and repeat. Once they got the first two or so done, it was easy goings after that. They just built this stuff out. So what they learned from those those buildings, they can quickly develop the same kind of strategy going into AI compute as well for those data centers. So
from complexity, we're engineering Horizon with Tier 3 equivalent concurrent maintainability. We're prioritizing redundancy and reliability to support long-term performance. Horizon 1 is already well advanced and progressing the schedule. More than 900 workers have been mobilized to site to deliver this state-of-the-art facility for Microsoft. Each week brings us closer to commissioning, with phased GPU deployments expected throughout 2026. What we're building here represents the future of high-performance compute.
yeah, that is a huge site, and that is very, very impressive here. If you guys, I'm sure a lot of you guys are investors in IREN, this brings a little warmth to the heart, looking at what they're doing and how fast they're building the stuff out there. So great to see that. Love seeing that, as always. Next here, we got Michael Saylor saying that the following U.S. banks are now issuing credit against Bitcoin: Citi, JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, BNY Mellon, Charles Schwab, and Bank of America. That's also another part of the adoption with Bitcoin, is going to be just used more and more by institutions and by governments and corporations and individuals, and it's a different cycle altogether, like I keep saying. But this is great. Next, okay, I found this completely interesting here. We've talked about, obviously, many, many times here on the show about having a power shortage, megawatt shortage in this country. And I found this to be very, very interesting, that this company, Boom, which is also working on a supersonic airline jet to replace the Concorde, if you recall. If you guys are old enough to remember the Concorde, which was supersonic, I think it was, where it could travel from New York to, I think it was London, within like 3.5, 4 hours or something like that, instead of the usual 8 hours, something like that, whatever it was, right? Cut the time in half. They're working on doing that again, but part of that technology was developing this new kind of engine to power it all, and they're also able to use this now for a generation of megawatts, which I was definitely surprised by this, but this is nothing short of amazing. So we'll dive into this. This is from Blake Shaw. I think he's the CEO of the company that's doing this. I think it's Boom Technologies that it's called. But let's take a look at it. So here's what he has to say. We have a small short video to look at it also. But they're introducing a superpower, a 42 megawatt natural gas turbine optimized for AI data centers, built on our supersonic technology. Superpower launches with 1.21 gigawatt order from Crusoe AI. Backstory: so Crusoe AI is the one that's building out the Stargate data center for OpenAI with Oracle as well. And they need a lot of megawatts. I think they're targeting like 5 gigawatts for that site alone in Texas there. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I believe that's the case here. So here's the backstory. 3 years ago, when we started working on our Symphony supersonic engine, we knew that it would one day make for a breakthrough power turbine. 2, back then, we registered some energy-related domains and put power on our product roadmap, but expected we'd ship supersonic first, then launch our energy product, right? But we watched an energy crisis develop in America. Our grid has flatlined while China has raced ahead. Hyperscalers have racks of GPUs sitting idle with no electricity to power them, which is true because we've heard that from Microsoft, right? We've also seen stories on how much China's building out not data center, but generation for power. So that is all true. I mean, you can see it here on the chart here. You got United States, right? Just slowly grinding away here. We're at, 4,000 terawatt hours, where China is just going parabolic here on the amount of megawatts they're putting up there. Next here, like all great ideas, we started with reading X. As I was pushing to legalize supersonic, I kept hearing about how AI companies couldn't get enough electricity. Both XAI and OpenAI were building their own power plants with large arrays of converted jet engines, which is true. XAI with Colossus 1 and Colossus 2 coming online here. Colossus 2 is coming online here shortly. XAI actually purchased engines, gas turbine engines from Europe, I believe it was, and they were shipping them over here in order to power their needs. So there is definitely a huge demand there for it. 5, there's something brilliant in this approach. Large arrays of mid-sized turbines are the blade servers of the energy world. Just as blade servers are more reliable and efficient than mainframes, so would be an array of turbines. But there was a major problem. The existing aeroderivative turbines were old technology based on literally on 1970s jet engines. This means they didn't perform well in real world, had no cloud connectivity. Nonetheless, AI companies were snapping up all they could get. Engines were effectively, I think he meant sold out here, but old out. I think he meant to say sold out on it. 7 here, he texted Sama, who had been a boom investor for more than a decade. Would a 42 megawatt natural gas turbine be helpful? The answer was a resounding yes. 90 days later, we had a launch order for 1.1 gigawatts and well over 1.25 billion in backlog. So that's awesome there, right? For them, the company right now is not public; it's still private. But later, we visited Crusoe AI Data Center in Abilene, Texas, where they were building one of the first vertically integrated power plants. Many of the pads were sitting empty, waiting for big OEMs to deliver. There's a backlog on getting these turbines to power, to create generation of power. 9, worse, it was 110 degrees that day, and the turbines took the heat even worse than the humans, with 1970s tech designed for subsonic flight, where effective temperatures are negative 50 degrees. The only way to avoid a meltdown was to throttle back. Okay, so that's interesting, right? So the older tech couldn't keep up here. Our engine was designed to run at Mach 1.7, where effective temperatures are around 160 degrees Fahrenheit. This means that under real-world conditions, 4 of our superpower turbines could do the job of 7 legacy units without the cooling water required. Okay, so that's actually very, very efficient there, right? It's a huge improvement in efficiency for them. Number 11 here, I believe our job at Boom Supersonic is to tackle industrial scale product development that others can't or won't. No one else is building supersonic airliner. No one else was building a new turbine. Even plans to ramp production of existing units were tepid. Okay, that's interesting there. And so we decided it was time to pull energy forward to our product roadmap. Shipping our engines first as a power turbine not only solves an acute customer and American pain point, it also solves the biggest problems facing supersonic flight there, right? So this definitely helps them out. So this kind of nice little pivot that they're doing there. It's not really a pivot, but it's kind of a roadmap fine tuning, I guess you could say. Being able to do this gives them generates them, will help them generate revenue and things like that, which then they can fund the supersonic flight airplane and things like that. So that's awesome to see that they're doing that. 13, today's new 300 million financing fully funds a superpower turbine, and superpower accelerates the profitability, allowing us to self-fund over time, overture supersonic development, right? So it's kind of one of those flywheels there. The one revenue coming in from one product goes into funding the other product as well. And this is, kind of nice looking plane there. And if you can make it safe and fast, that's really, really good. Additionally, superpower provides a proving ground for our engine when it carries passengers. We'll have hundreds of thousands of hours of real world experience. making it the most tested new jet engine ever to carry passengers, which is true there. To overcome supply chain bottlenecks, we're vertically integrating manufacturing. We've already started building in the first superpower turbine, and we're building a new super factory in Denver, which will make 2 gigawatts a year of turbines from raw materials. 16 will share more about Superpower Factory early next year. It's time to build Supersonic, which is great. So love seeing that, right? An American company building stuff in America. Definitely love seeing that. I'm a big proponent of that. And this is great. So very, very interesting development that we're seeing here. Obviously, the demand for megawatts is huge, right? There's a backlog. You can't get megawatts unless you have it already here. That obviously bodes well for companies that already have megawatts, like IREN, Cypher, Cleanspark, Bitfarms, Hut 8, Riot as well. They should eventually start getting some kind of deals with some of these players in the space for data centers. But let's take a look at this here. This is, I don't know if we're going to watch the video here. I think, let me see this. I just looked up Blake here really quick. But here's their site here from Boom Supersonic. They have the Superpower, Overture, Boomless, XB1, and obviously Careers. They're in a hiring mode right now. So if you have experience in this stuff, check them out. But this is kind of interesting that these are basically container-based systems that can be easily and quickly deployed once they're obviously built. But you can put these in any site here as long, I don't know how loud that's going to be. Is it going to be like a jet engine going off? Right? So I'm not sure what the loudness is on it. That's the only question I had, was really how loud are they? But they're, like they stated here, they're launching with Caruso in 2027, right? This is the huge Stargate project that they're working there in Abilene, Texas, which is, I think, like they're supposed to get to like 5 gigawatts or something like that. That is definitely massive there as well. For that, made in the U.S., love seeing that. Talked about that. These things come in 42 megawatt power, 4+ gigawatts annually by 2030. So they're definitely targeting that. 39% efficiency, 14-day installation. That's pretty quick installation. And this is what they would look like on it. Better high performance. Yeah, very, very interesting. Another one of these companies that to kind of keep an eye on going forward. I don't know when they're going to be going public or anything like that, but it's one of those things that you definitely want to keep an eye on to see how they progress into the future, right? In the next couple of years and things like that when they possibly do go public, because it's some pretty interesting tech there. All right. Next here, this was the video that we're going to watch. I'm not going to play this. So you guys can take a look at this. It's about 2 minutes long, but it talks about them, obviously the gas turbine, how they're building it and things like that. Definitely interesting to watch there. Next here, we have this. This is also very interesting here. So if we can't get power or enough power here and on land, on Earth, the next phase is going to be going into space here. And I watched this video. We're going to watch this video. It's a very good video. And it talks about, obviously, the benefits of going into space and having data centers in space here. It's about, I think it's about 3 minutes long or something like that. But here's the gist of it, right? So the most important thing in the next 3 to 4 years is data centers in space. In every way, data centers in space, from a first principles perspective, are superior to data centers on Earth. In space, you can keep a satellite in the sun 24 hours a day. The sun is 30% more intense, which results in 6 times more irradiance than on Earth, so you don't need a battery. The cooling in these data centers is incredibly complicated. Space cooling is free. You just put a radiator on the dark side of the satellite. The only thing faster than a laser going through a fiber optic cable is laser going through absolute vacuum. Link satellites with lasers, and you have a faster, more coherent network than any data center on Earth. I did not know that was actually a benefit there, but it does definitely seem to be that way. So take a listen to this video. This is, who is this? I'm drawing a blank on the person's name here. I think it might be in there. Might be in the video. Let's take a listen here.
I think the most important thing that's going to happen in the world in the next 3 to 4 years is data centers in space. If you think about it from first principles, data centers should be in space. What are the fundamental inputs to running a data center? They're power and they're cooling. And then there are the chips. The inputs to making the tokens come out of the magic machines. Yeah. So in space, you can keep a satellite in the sun 24 hours a day, and the sun is 30% more intense. And this results in 6 times more irradiance in outer space than on planet Earth. So you're getting a lot of solar energy. Point number 2, because you're in the sun 24 hours a day, you don't need a battery. And this is a giant percentage of the cost. So the lowest cost energy available in our solar system is solar energy in space, okay? Second, for cooling, in one of these racks, a majority of the mass and the weight is cooling. And the cooling in these data centers is incredibly complicated.
crazy,
You know, I mean, the HVAC, the CDUs, the liquid cooling. In space, cooling is free. You just put a radiator on the dark side of the satellite.
It's fucking cold.
And it's as close to absolute zero as you can get. So all that goes away. And that is a vast amount of cost. And then let's think about how the satellite is kind of a rack. Well, how are you going to connect those racks? Well, it's funny. In the data center, the racks are over a certain distance connected with fiber optics. And that just means a laser going through a cable. The only thing faster than a laser going through a fiber optic cable is a laser going through absolute vacuum. So if you can link these satellites in space together using lasers, you actually have a faster and more coherent network than in a data center on Earth, okay? For training, that's gonna take a long time, just because it's so big. But for inference, so let's think about the user experience. You know, when I asked Grok about you and it gave the nice answer, here's what happened. A radio wave traveled from my cell phone to a cell tower. Then it hit the base station, went into a fiber optic cable, went to some sort of metro aggregation facility in New York, probably within 10 blocks of here. There's a small little metro router that's routed those packets to a big XAI data center somewhere, okay? And then the computation was done and it came back over the same path. If the satellites can communicate directly with the phone, and Starlink has demonstrated direct-to-cell capability, you just go boom, boom. It's a much better, lower cost user experience. So in every way, data centers in space, from a first principles perspective, are superior to data centers on Earth.
Okay, very interesting, right? I mean, the world is going to be changing so dramatically in the next, I would say, 5, 10, 15 years. I mean, you can't even fathom what the change is going to be like. We got, obviously, right now, data centers are in huge demand. We also have this report here from datacenterwatch.org. If you want a report, it's like $95. I'm not sponsored by them or anything like that. This was just brought up by Neil, one of the viewers here. And I just took a quick look at it, and we're seeing, obviously, at least what they're stating here, 125% surge in data center opposition in the country here in the last quarter, it looks like, in Q2. Map of grassroots groups and petition signatures opposing data centers in Q2, right? So you're definitely seeing more there. Key takeaways marked a turning point in data center development risk. In just 3 months, 20 projects were blocked or delayed amid local opposition, affecting $98 billion in potential investments, more than all disruptions tracked since 2023. The rollback of tax abatements, right, emerging as critical political risk, and community opposition continues to grow here. Concerns by the communities is power, right? What's the cost of power going to be when these data centers come in and they gobble up all of these megawatts? The concerns also with water, which I completely understand, but I think a lot of these systems are now closed systems. So what we're seeing here with the opposition happening to data centers, we're also seeing not enough megawatts in this country right now. The providers, or I guess I don't know if you call them providers. I guess you can call them providers. The companies that have megawatts locked up already, ready to go, like I've said before, like IREN, Cypher, others as well, Cleanspark, right, all those other guys, Bitfarms and all that. They have plans already in place. They're going to be building out in the next couple of years here. Those guys should benefit from this in the short term. Long-term solution might be that we need to go into space here, which at that point I think is going to bode well for SpaceX potentially, which there we have a story on them as well. The nice thing, like the gentleman there talked about, was all these things that you don't need anymore to run these data centers. You don't need the buildings. You don't need the electricity connections. You don't need the cooling. Everything. I mean, you can probably take out like 90% of the cost there in building a data center just to put it up in space here. And I think SpaceX is going to definitely benefit from that going forward here. And as they're obviously talking about going to an IPO route here in 2026, that could possibly raise them $30 billion and value the company at $1.5 trillion. This would make SpaceX the largest IPO in history. So SpaceX is one of those companies to definitely keep an eye on, keep a watch on these guys. They are already, I think, cash flow positive from all their operations. They are the premier, the Lux de la creme, I guess you could say, of space travel as it is right now. not only for the United States government, for other corporations that are launching their own satellites through SpaceX. SpaceX has basically dominated the space-faring fleet right now, as it is. So, and as things progress to move into space here more and more, as they bring down the costs to launch things into space also, this is going to be well for obviously companies that want to get into it, into data centers in space. So I'm hoping that in time, some of the companies that we're invested right now, like IREN, Cypher, Bitfarms, Cleanspark, Hut 8, Riot, some of these other guys will start to think about putting data centers in space and actually have plans going forward to do that as well. Because at that point, you don't have to worry about, I mean, the biggest thing you're going to have to worry about is getting, I think, clearance from the Federal Aviation Committee or something like that, whatever that is, to be able to put stuff up. Or who's the other one? Communication, right? The communication, what is that called? There's another organization that I think that deals with satellites and things like that, so you might have to deal with them as well. But space there, I mean, there's a heck of a lot of space out there. And you have all this wonderful light coming from the sun, which powers all this stuff for basically free. Your biggest cost is going to be now probably getting them up to space. And if SpaceX can actually get the Starship to be reusable, and you can, at a much lower cost than what it costs right now for what's the Falcon, right, which they're using right now. If you can do all those things, bring the cost down, one, SpaceX is going to benefit from it. The AI operators that, or whoever those might be, are going to benefit from it as well because of all the cost savings in doing that. And we're going to benefit from it as well as not taking up land that is, getting smaller and smaller as far as available land that's out there. We don't have any more land that we can build out here on planet Earth. So that saves us on that. There's a lot of benefits, I think. But in the meantime, in the next 3 to 5 years, I think the companies like I've talked about will do very well because they already have the megawatts available to build the stuff out. And then going beyond that, obviously we're going to space, I think, in the long term. And one of the companies that could benefit from it is SpaceX. There might be others as well in that are trying to get to space also. So something we'll have to keep an eye on going forward on this as well. Okay? So that is it on some of the good news stories that we do have here right now. Next thing we're going to dive into really quick here is the miners right now, right? We've had only right now for the month of November, we've had only not even Bitdeer, we've had only Cleanspark and Riot so far report. And it's been 9 days since the end of November. And we're still waiting on some of the other guys to report, which by now we should have had at least a couple more report. Bitdeer's typically a little late to report. I would say that they're somewhere between 10 and 14 days out. So we're getting right up to that line there. Kango usually reported pretty quickly here, but recently they've been kind of going out longer and longer, as it seems. Core has stopped completely. We know that for a fact. Cypher has stopped as well. And then we've also seen, we're still waiting on Hive, obviously, to report, but IREN, we know that they've stopped reporting. Mara didn't report anything about stopping, but they just didn't report anything. So we kind of figure that they are stopping to report as well. So that is unfortunate, right? Because we definitely dealt with a lot of data here on the channel about the miners and their reporting monthly. We love seeing the data. I love seeing the data. It helped me pick the ones that I wanted to get into. And so far, the ones that I picked that I wanted to get into have done very, very well here based on the data. So I think it's sad to see that the miners are going away from the monthly reports. But in a sense, I can understand why they're doing it. Right? They're not building out their Bitcoin mining sites that much more. Some still are, but majority are not. And if you're not reporting on huge growth going forward, and you're kind of paused at where you're at right now with the hash rate, you're going to be generating less Bitcoin each month because of the network hash rate going up because others are installing still. So you're going to see a dwindling effect on your revenues potentially unless Bitcoin actually starts to rally here, which I don't expect that to happen. I think Bitcoin's going to go up, but it's going to go up slowly. So yeah, I can understand why they're possibly stopping with the reports. I would still love to see that, but with the reports, they can always talk about other things as well. How are they doing on their AI things, initiatives, right? How are the data centers being built out? How many, how close are you to having your data centers built out? How many megawatts do you have energized right now for data centers? How many are in the pipeline? All of those things could be talked about, but it is what it is. We'll obviously deal with it, and I'll try to provide you guys with some other data as well that we can, we can kind of estimate where they might be based on the latest information that we do have, but it's going to be definitely more challenging here, unfortunately. But we'll talk about other things. We'll talk about, these kind of new ventures that are happening with power generation and going into space potentially with data centers and all this stuff. So we'll talk about all those things, which I find very, very fascinating as well. Hopefully you guys do as well, and ladies. So, all right, that's it. I just wanted to rant a little bit on the miners here, not providing their monthly updates yet, except for Cleanspark and Riot. So kudos to them for still doing it. Love seeing that. And like I said, I wish other companies would do that as well. All right, but that's it. That's all I got for you guys tonight. Let's get into Q&A here, and we'll call it a day. We're going on already 35 minutes. And let's see what you guys have to say. Questions or any comments like that. We'll cover it all. As always, if you could preface the questions with a question mark or a Q, I'd appreciate it. Here, I'm going to scroll up as always and work my way down. We'll talk about anything and everything as long as it is polite. And not always doesn't have to be polite, but at least PG rated, I guess you could say. All right. All right. Bull 25 asks, is the bull run for the miners over? No. Well, if they're purely Bitcoin, then it might be, but a lot of these guys have already transitioned into HPC AI data centers as well. So that's, I don't think it's over for them. I think they're just heating up here. CC Dap, what's up, Seb? Doing the live stream. Thanks for coming in. CC Dap says IREN is the best. Let's see, Rob. Seb, based on your last presentation where Hive was showing as number 3 in terms of BTC mining efficiency, is it possible from the share price aspect that it could mirror to that of number 1 or number 2 companies on your list? As far as share price, I don't know. I don't know if... Okay, so we've seen a transition happening here with the Bitcoin miners from, obviously, Bitcoin miners to HPC data center players. That transition has helped a lot of these guys get much higher valuations right now as it is because of the megawatts that they have available and the contracts that they have and things like that, right? Potential. I don't know if Hive can replicate the same thing with data centers that they're building out in Canada, other places as well, then I think there is a good chance that they will do really well, right? But the other thing is I think they may need to get into the United States as well. They don't have any operations right now in the United States, which I think might be a little bit of a roadblock for them. Or at least maybe they won't appreciate as much share-wise than others that are in the United States, okay? That's kind of the way I think about it. Okay, let's see. JPB says, unfortunately, I do believe the chances of a new all-time high in BTC is a long time away. Any pump we will into the 100,000, 110,000 is probably a bear market rally type move. And that might be true, right? We don't know. Time will tell on this, right? Have we bottomed out at 80,000? Was that the correction that we needed to have around 34% from the top? Maybe, not sure. We'll see if we hit a new all-time high here in the next 3 to 6 months. But I think within 3 months is possible. 6 months is definitely, I think, possible for us to get a new all-time high. All right. CC Dap here. Question: when will Wolf CFO Patrick F stop talking crap about Texas Bitcoin miners? I don't know. Maybe a little jealousy there. I don't know. Sadie, thank you so much for the likes there. Mortem, does IREN have any ongoing costs to running ASICs at this point after pausing, or is Bitcoin revenue just eventually becoming gravy as they grow the AI HPC side of business? Right now, that business, Bitcoin mining business, is actually helping fund the growth into AI as well. So it's one of those things that it's helping out tremendously, right? They were able to secure, obviously, sites, megawatts, all because of Bitcoin. But with the progression into AI as well, that's helping them there. I haven't heard anything about them completely doing away with Bitcoin mining, so I think they're going to continue to mine for a number of years more here. We'll see, obviously, how the plays out, but right now, yeah, it's definitely helping them out. All right, Rob, the one thing about data centers in space is that over time, the chips will be outdated, slow, and defunct. Eventually, tons of money spent to get it into outer space and obsolete eventually in 5 years. Well, not necessarily 5 years, right? So we've seen companies report like Google and others as well that their chips that are like 7, 8 years old are still operating and still being used 100% of the time. So if you can get 7 to, I would say, 10 years on a chip, that's actually pretty good in outer space. And then what happens after that? Well, they just go down and burn up in the atmosphere, right? So nothing really happens there, and you launch up another one. So the big question is going to be the cost. What does it cost right now to launch a CubeSat, right? Is it a couple $1 million, whatever it is? I'm not sure what the cost is there, but if you can get the cost down even further than that, that makes it a heck of a lot easier than to build out potentially, right? Yes, when you build out, you actually have that site for a number of years, right? Whatever it is, 30, 50 years plus, but it's definitely costly there. So maybe somebody will do some analysis on this. What would the cost be to launch something into space instead of building it out? That would be interesting to see that. And if I get bored, maybe I'll do that as well. But yeah, I'll leave it at that. All right. So talked about that one. Hunt here. Mean we can expect some type of contract in the near future. 5 months isn't that far away. I think you're talking about IREN. Then question: when IREN states Sweetwater 1 will be energized by April 2026, does that mean it will be ready to be occupied or simply power brought to the site? It's ready to be occupied. Doesn't that mean, okay, so it's kind of backwards. You mean we can expect some type of contract? Yeah. So Sweetwater 1 is going to get energized. The site's going to have power there, basically hooked up to it, and then they got to build it out. And we don't know when they're going to be building that out. We know that they're getting power there, so hopefully sooner than later, right? On that one. Okay. Milligs, what a great use of all those hundreds, thousands of wind turbines at night when the load is low. The data centers can soak the power up. Thousands around Abilene and Childress, many more to come. Yeah, wind turbines are doing great. Obviously, they're great because they can operate in the darkness where solar panels cannot. That's why they're better out in the outer space there. All right. Terry, so the space data centers mentioned is why I invested in SAIH. Okay, I don't know who that is. I'll have to take a look at that. Are they producing solar panels there? Is that what that is? I'll have to take a look at that one. SAIH. Okay, we'll take a look at that one. Thanks for sharing that. Okay. The Milligs. The population of Childress is 5,500, and IREN said they have 900 employees there. Wow, what a boom for them. Yeah, definitely bringing in a lot of money there for the towns. All right. Alexander says we are decades away from space data centers. You need an entire rocket to go change up a light bulb there. You don't need an entire rocket. I mean, you got to also take into consideration SpaceX's Starship, right? That thing's massive. That thing can put up, I don't know how many tons into space there, but it's massive. So I think the cost is definitely going to come down on those things. And if the economies are there for data centers to do that, they will do that. They'll build them out there. All right. Let's see. The astronomer travel question: man, will they need spacecraft engineer in the next 3 years if we start doing space data centers? I don't know if they're going to need engineers. I think those things are going to just work like any other satellite. You just kind of point them to where they're supposed to go to. You basically drop them as the ship is flying out. And then if they're connected by, like they were talking about lasers for connectivity, I mean, you really have to connect them. And then if something happens with them, you can just maybe pop them out of orbit and have them burn out. I don't know. But yeah, maybe we'll have space engineers. Who knows? You probably wouldn't catch me doing it because I'm afraid of heights. Okay, let's see. Momam. I can't pronounce that, sorry. Question: do you think CPI will go down since housing rent costs is lagged next year, so we will get more interest cuts and then BTC and AI stocks will go up? CPI data, I think things will even out next year because we've had obviously the tariffs this year that might have an impact on it and some things. So I think that will even out. We're seeing obviously a softening in the housing market as well, which I think that bodes well for the rent going down in some places. So yeah, I think that will play a part in it as well into next year and the year beyond that as well. Okay, Rob asks, how does one do technical maintenance on space data centers, or are you dead in the water if something goes wrong? All it is, it's just going to be a little satellite with whether it's going to be the latest generation chip from NVIDIA, the Rubin, or the Blackwell. I mean, that's all it is right there. You got that. You got a little bit of computer on it as well. Solar panels going out, and that's all you have. That's your data center right there. You put up 100,000 of those things up in space. That's your data center. You don't have to worry about anything. Something goes wrong, like I said, you just drop that satellite down back into orbit or back into Earth's atmosphere. It burns up at that point. You got no waste. Yeah, I mean, there's probably more into it than that, but you're going to need probably some companies that are going to be tracking the satellites, making sure they're operating, just like a data center, I guess, management system. You can be tracking them, see which ones are working, which ones are not. And yeah. Michael says, Fitzgerald raised the forecast on ABO that more upgrades coming out has so upside that a breakout is coming, that even earnings and data said all this already. Okay, that's very jarbled there a little bit. Not even sure who ABO is. Not sure about them. MT, thoughts about BitZero, please. Don't know enough about them to really comment on them. Sorry. And why is the problem that Hive is not in the United States, U.S. based? It's not that it's not U.S. based; it's that it doesn't have any operations in the United States, right? Investors here, which a lot of the money comes from the United States, love seeing investments here where regulations are kind of clear, laws are kind of clear, right? All those things, and there's just demand for it, right? So I think that's the reason why. Rob, Seb, I have been reading that Amazon and Microsoft are looking forward to data centers in Canada. Yes, they are also. Yeah, I saw a tweet from Google that they're spending, I think, $18 billion in Canada for data centers there as well. Yeah, so that is, their data centers are going to be built all over the world, wherever they can, wherever there's megawatts, demand, things like that. But right now, the U.S. is obviously the forerunner when it comes to technology companies, as it is, right? Google, Microsoft, Apple, all of these things are basically in the United States based for the most part. I can't pronounce it, sorry. Question, do you think Cleanspark, Riot, and Mara will go up to 25 next quarter? Next quarter, I would like to think so. As long as everything else goes up, markets are going up. We got the Fed rate cuts tomorrow. If Trump provides any kind of good news here in the coming weeks as well, things should do well here. We're not too far away from it for some of these guys, at least not too far away from that already. So I do think it's possible. It's just depending on the news that they come out with. Also, how are they doing? How are they progressing on their initiatives for AI, data centers, and things like that? That will help them out. If it isn't within the next quarter, I would say it's probably within the next 2 quarters, at the very latest, I would think, at that point. All right. Adam asks, do you think Microsoft will utilize all of IREN's power eventually? I mean, we've seen that with other companies, maybe not utilizing all the power there, but we've seen other companies that first get their foot in the door someplace, see how things progress, test out the company there, and then they buy in more. So I think they could possibly ask for more megawatts going forward as well, especially if we're seeing these companies getting, some backlash in some of the communities, and some of these communities not being happy with the data centers being there, and the backlash from that. So maybe, definitely maybe. Okay. Okay, Morton. Beth Kindig tweeted about debt levels for the AI HPC miners. How would you compare CoreWeave, IREN, and NBS on debt levels, and how well are they handling it? I think IREN is one of the best ones right now. I mean, you can see that just in the convertible notes structure that they're getting, right? The interest rates on those. We talked about that yesterday, where IREN is getting 0.25% and like 0.5%, I think. for their convertible notes that they just recently got, whereas some of the other players are getting higher interest rates there. So I think based on that, IREN is definitely the one that's better positioned. IREN is also generating like, what is it now, 800 million, 700 million right now as it is from Bitcoin mining annually right now. So that's helping them out because of that. Whereas some of the other guys, Nibius and CoreWeave, the only revenue that they're getting is obviously from the build out of AI data centers, and that's why the stock went down for CoreWeave a little bit, because Core Scientific was delayed on building out a data center for them, so that delayed their revenues as well. Okay. Let's see, Sour, love you, Seb. Thank you so much for that. Love you all as well. IREN will rip to over $100 in Q1 market. I would love to see that for sure. Midwest Thailand here. We hear a lot of good stuff on IREN, but can you talk about the bads? The bads, I mean, obviously it's costly to build out these data centers, right? We know that. I mean, that's the only bad thing I can think about right now is the cost. But once you build these things out, you have them for 30, 50, 70 years, however long you have those sites on it, right? So that's the only bad thing that I can think of right now is just the cost, but that's current, right? Currently, within the next couple of years, you're going to obviously recoup that. Going forward, it shouldn't be an issue there. The convertible notes are in really good structure as well, right? Low interest rates on those. So there's really nothing to complain there. Management is great. I mean, I don't have anything really to complain about IREN right now. I think that's about it. I mean, what else could I complain about? Then what else is bad there for IREN? The only thing is maybe not having a lot of customers, maybe, but I mean, they still have customers for the GPUs that they're leasing out for bare metal deployments there. So I think that's the only thing I can think that's maybe bad on them. The amount of debt, obviously, to build out these data centers. Okay. Okay, let's see. Rob, are data centers being built to track how we spend our money so that companies can make more money year after year? Is that what is all AI is all about? No, I mean, part of it will be that, I'm sure, right? But not all of it. No. Gary said probably 5 to 10 years away. Some things to figure out, like cooling chips has no atmosphere and water would freeze. Watched a video today on this. Still at least 5 years away. Yeah, I would say 3 to 5 years. I think somewhere around there. And again, in space, you don't need any water cooled chips. You are at basically, zero atmosphere at that point. So you don't have to worry about that. You just put a radiator on that thing, a fin, like you normally would have, and the thing is just going to cool itself. So there's no real reason you need water up there for the chips. That's one of the big benefits on that, is that you don't need that whole cooling system that goes along with these chips. Take a look at the video that I showed. If you have missed it, Gary, take a look at the video. Let me see. It wasn't posted by. It was posted by. Let me see. It was posted by Patrick _OSHAG. Take a look at it. It's got, I can't remember the gentleman's name there. Who was it? Kevin S. Baker, I think. Gavin S. Baker. He's been on the All In podcast before as well. Great guy there. Very, very informative. And definitely worth, I got to follow these guys. We'll do that right now. I haven't followed them before. So we'll take a look at those guys. We'll keep an eye on them as well. Love hearing from smart people, right? But yeah, take a look at the video, okay? And I probably should have put this up for you as well. Let's see, where's it at? There we go. Sorry about that. So there it is. Take a look at this. There's a video that he posted with Gavin S. Baker. All right, go back to Q&A. Okay, talked about that. All right, Sour's asking Gary, what price would you sell IREN at? Good question there for Gary. You guys are going to probably sell like $1,000 or something like that. Midwest Island, what about IREN not meeting their deadline on building their infrastructure? What's the percentage of them not getting it built in time? IREN has historically done it on time. So there's no concerns for them, at least right now. They have a proven track record of at least building the data centers for Bitcoin mining side of things. Now, they have to prove themselves also for the AI data centers as well. But given the track record here that what they've done in a short amount of time, within like a year and a half of what they built out, I don't see an issue where they can't build out. We watched the video on the build out process right now. They got 900 people working there. I think they're going to be able to meet their targets to meet Microsoft's demands there. Okay, think about that. Rob, if IREN rips $200, what about the small guys, Hive and Bitfarms? What's the reason with that IREN is ripping? Is it because they got another contract? Are they building out their own GPU cluster for their own customers more, right? What's the reasoning behind it? Is it everything's ripping up, or is it just those guys? So there's got to be a little bit more to it than just IREN's ripping and everything else is going to be ripped. No, what's the reason behind it? So I don't know what would happen to some of the smaller guys, Hive and Bitfarms at that point. If Hive and Bitfarms come out with good news, then yeah, they could still run up along with it, right? Okay, sorry, I asked, what about you, Seb, on IREN's selling price? Oh my gosh. That price has been going up and up as we were hearing more and more about their growth in AI data centers and things like that. I would possibly start to sell a little bit. Probably between, I would say, $100 and $140. I'd probably start taking small chunks out. Talking about like 2, 3, maybe most 5% of my position right now that I have in them, because I haven't sold anything as it is right now. But I would possibly at that point start to maybe take a little bit, unless we have huge growth plans from them, huge ambitious plans into the future. In the next couple of years, at that point, I may be like, well, let's just hold on to it. See if we can get up above $200 or something, depending at that point. Okay, let's see here. Gary says, I like IREN at 40 or less, IRE at 40 or less over IREN. Plan to keep one of other for at least the next year. Okay, so you're kind of like me. I'm keeping at least IREN for a little bit longer, for sure. Rob says, the algos bring the entire AI HPC space up. Could be, right? We've seen that as well. We've seen these things running up here in the last, about what was it, about 6 weeks, 8 weeks ago, when they were running for like 12 weeks or something like that. Everything was going up at that point. So yeah, it could happen as well. And definitely would love to see that again, right? Bringing these up to new all-time highs again. Okay? But that's it. Love what I'm seeing in the space. Love you guys for coming in here every night. Really appreciate you taking the time here on your late evenings or maybe early morning hours. Taking a little time with me to talk about this stuff. I love this space. It's interesting. I'm a techie, I'm a nerd when it comes to computers, all this stuff. And I love just seeing where humanity is going. We're going into space. And hopefully AI is going to be good for us. I think there's a very, very small chance that it might not be good for humanity, but the large percentage is still that it's going to be overall good for humanity, bringing us many, many advances in technology and health and everything else. I'm excited for the next 30, 40 years if I am lucky enough to be able to live that long. Looking forward to what happens in those next 30, 40 years. The first 40 some odd years has been a fantastic ride also. I mean, starting out with computers that you had floppy disks, or some that didn't even have any floppy disks. But when I started out, there were computers that had floppy disks, and we're talking about those 5 1/4 inch floppy disks. At that point, then we moved on to those 3 1/2 inch floppy disks as well, and then we started getting actual hard drives. I remember the first computer that I had a hard drive in had 104 megabytes. That was huge at that time. And now we have hard drives that are, what is it like? I'm trying to think what my current ones are. They're like terabytes, right? Terabytes of data. And the advances that we've seen here. TVs were the size of a cabinet before. Now they're as thin as glass. And that's all been within the last 40 years, basically. So I'm really, really excited to see what the next 40 years brings us. We could have basically pinged on TVs or something. Who knows what kind of crazy stuff we'll develop in the future. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm just all in on it. We got a couple comments here coming in as well. Let's see. Sal says punch cards. Yeah, before that it was punch cards. Yeah, that was before the floppy drives. You had tape drives as well, right? Those were in there as well But when I got into it, computers was back in, gosh, my first computer, I think I was 10 years old. And that was a Tandy TX1000 or something like that, I think. That was, you were able to buy that at Radio Shack, if you guys recall that, going way back at that point. Yeah, that was fun. It says, I really enjoy Amazon AI Rufus. It tells me when to buy items at lower price. Okay. Sal got into it in 1979. Okay. So I think you're a little bit older than me there, but yeah, it's been a fun ride. I mean, I remember cell phones. My gosh, those things used to be like a little briefcase that you had the phone, the battery, not even the battery, but the brain power of it, and you plugged it into your car. I remember that. And then eventually you got, obviously, the brick phones, and then they got smaller and smaller. A lot has happened in the last 40 years. Humanity has advanced greatly here. I would say probably in the last 100 years, right? And then whatever the next 100 years is going to be, obviously I won't live to see it all. Maybe with the advances in medicine and everything else. But I'm just looking forward to the next 30, 40 years that I am alive here on this beautiful little planet that we have all shared together. All right, but that's it. We'll talk about anything that happens tomorrow, obviously, in the markets. We'll take a look at what the impact on the Fed rate cuts is tomorrow on the markets as well. We'll see if there's any stories that are positive, uplifting, and anything else that's interesting in this space altogether. All right. Again, love you all. Hope you guys have a great night, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Until then.